Pascal, you've had a couple of days to reflect on a good playoff run for your hockey team. What are your thoughts now as you consider what happened in those two rounds?
Well, I thought playing that first round against Grand Rapids was really tough. Physically, it took everything we had in order to beat those guys. We came together as a team, and we won that series based on guts. We had to pay the price in every way to win that series, mentally and physically. And for our guys to come together the way they did was pretty impressive. Losing Appleton after the second game and still having to win in their building the last 3 games, and then the second round. I believe my boss said it right, that the American League is the American League, and you have 3 different seasons within the same season, and the playoffs is a different animal. We were the last team standing, with the parent club still being in the playoffs, and we should be proud of that. Obviously, right after the game, you feel empty. You pour everything you got into this season. We still believe it was 5-2 late in the third period for Rockford last game, and we still believe we could come back, and that's how we felt the whole season. We believed in ourselves, and the way we've played and the way we worked as a team, the addition of some new guys, their impact on the team, just their leadership. We're conducting the exit meetings right now, and we're going over the season with the players. And when you reflect back on the full year and the big picture, it was a very good season, and it was really a privilege to be part of it.
Too difficult to boil a whole season down to a moment, but I wonder about that third game in the Grand Rapids series, coming off the 5-1 loss here at home. What did that say about the group that you work with this year to be able to go into that building and win and really turn the series around?
Well, from the outside, I guess it would look like it helped us gel as a team, but from the inside, we knew how our players were interacting with each other. We knew their confidence level in each other. We knew how much they cared. So you don't know how you're gonna react and how it's gonna be played out. But we knew they would try and give their best, and we knew they cared. So that's half the battle right there. So I guess that game is just showing to everybody how tight we were as a team.
Looking back on the regular season, many different phases to it. One of the things the players have talked about is the road trip in California early on in the season. Disappointing game in Bakersfield to begin the road trip. The team came together. They said you were a big part of that, but your thoughts about that point in the year when the team really started to get results?
Well, our goal was to make the playoffs, and then I guess when the training camp started and the guys saw that we signed few different players, Schilling, Robinson, just to name those 2, and bring Cormier back, and Kramer, even though he hasn't played a whole lot, he had a huge influence on the team. So there was a level of excitement early in the season, and we faced some adversity. And for us to come together as a team after a disappointed loss was a defining moment, because you're sitting in that room and you're watching how the veterans players will react, and when they see that those guys cared the way they did, it goes a long way. And they believed in what we were trying to do. They believed in what the team's mission was, and they were all in the whole year.
When you think about some of the successes the team had, one that jumps off the page, 16 consecutive without losing in regulation time, how do you look back on that?
Well, it was that's the American League. First of all, when you're healthy, it's when you're healthy, makes a huge difference. But not only we were healthy, but the Jets were healthy. So we had our full lineup. The Jets had their full lineup. We were rolling. We were playing up to our potential, and we had guys playing extremely well as part of and respecting the roles. So it was a good moment for the organization. It was a good moment for the team, but it also helped us define how good we can be and what we can achieve when we're playing as a team. And that moment in the season really helped us make the playoffs because we separated ourselves from the other teams, and from there, I think it just creates a lot of confidence in what we're trying to do.
Personnel changes in the American Hockey League pretty regularly. You saw that in the second half of the year, but your team still found a way to be competitive and maybe redefined itself in terms of what it needed to do to be successful. Is there some pride that comes from that, even though the numbers weren't the same?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to play, to be successful in a season, you have to have the ability to adjust, and we were able to adjust. I mean, at some point, as you remember, our two goalies were up with the Jets, and it's a pretty big piece of your team, right? And we were able to adjust, and we were able to survive, basically, and keeping our heads out of the water. We were not winning at the same rate, but we were able to survive, and we secured our spot in the playoffs. And we stayed first in our division and in the league for quite a while because of that ability to adjust. So the guys adjusted their game. We adjusted the way we were preparing the team a little bit, but at the bottom line is the guys were willing to take different roles in order to help the team succeed.
One player who took on a unique role this year was Darren Kramer. He recently announced his retirement from hockey. Your thoughts on what he brought to the program?
We can't measure what he brought to this team because you're going to look at his stats and you see the numbers will not give you a real appreciation on what he brought to the team. He brought people into the fight on game days. Even if he wasn't playing, he brought people into the fight on practice days, keeping the team even keel. Some people have the ability to keep a team together when it's really difficult, but to do it when you're not even playing and you're a healthy scratch day in, day out, that's a special skill. He's a very smart man. He had a role where he had to be a physical enforcer kind of player, but he's a real smart man. His leadership is off the chart. He's a guy that is quite vocal, but it makes sense when he talks. It makes a lot of sense, and when it's coming from a guy that is not playing, it's even more powerful. So he bought into this season. I think his mind was made up before the season that it would probably be as last year, and for him to go through this season and being the way he was around the team, I truly believe that we had the kind of season we had for different reasons, and one of them is Darren Kramer. Just what he did around the team was, this guy will be successful. He's you know what he's doing. He's succeeding at life, and his ability to be selfless and do the right things for people around him is absolutely amazing, and everybody learned from him, myself included.
You've talked at different times about Patrice Cormier and the leadership group around him, how important they were in helping the team. Can you express the value that they brought to the young team to help them to become a playoff team?
Different kinds of leadership. You see Blake Wheeler, what he's doing as a captain with the Winnipeg Jets. Our Blake Wheeler was Patrice Cormier. He was totally invested in the mission of the Moose making the playoffs and being the best we can be, being a good pro around the team, practices, on the road, knowing when it's time to get more emotional, and also knowing when it's time to get to settle down a little bit. He was our captain, and there's no I can't describe exactly the importance he had, because you have to experience Patrice Cormier as your captain but he was perfect in the sense that I like my captain to be able to talk to me and tell me the real things, not sugarcoating anything. And he was perfect in that regard. He was the voice in the room, and he supported. In order to be a voice in a room, in any fields of life, you need to support it with your actions. And he was a real warrior on the ice for us, and that part of our success, led by Patrice Cormier, and the understanding that your captain is your driver, and to do it properly for a full season, it's a big piece of why we've won. Just like Darren Kramer and the veterans that we had and their leadership skills, you can't put a value on that. It's just impossible. You have to experience it, and we were very lucky to have Patrice Cormier as our captain this year.
Probably unfair and impossible to ask you about everybody, but Sammy Niku and Mason Appleton jump off the page as guys who came in to make an impression and made a very good impression.
Absolutely. They had a great season. The skill level is there. Two different stories. Sammy coming from overseas, and Mason Appleton coming from college. But first year pro, expectations we didn't know. Nobody could have told us that they would have had that kind of season. But they really pushed their potential to the max. And the beautiful thing about it is we don't know what their ceiling is. We don't know how good they're going to be. They had a great year. But this is a team sport, and there's no way you can be good all by yourself and having that kind of season. They were, again, reinforcing the importance of our leadership group, showing the way, supporting them. And you combine that with their talent and their ability to fit in and to understand what's needed right away. You have some question marks. Yes, he's having a good start of the season, but is he going to hit the wall at some point? Like, we're playing 76 games here, and we travel quite a bit, and it's physically hard and mentally hard. You don't know if they're going to hit the wall at some points, and they didn't. They played really consistently all through the season, and they were both of them really mature for their young age. So it was. We've been drafting pretty well here. Our scouts are doing Kevin Cheveldayoff and the management and the scouts have been doing an amazing job, as those two are pretty good players.
But one thing you spoke about before the playoffs began was you said you can gain a lot of evaluation of a player's game based on the playoffs more than the regular season, even just from one game.
Yep.
Were you able to gain a lot from your team? I mean, you saw a player like Chase DeLeo who had an okay regular season, but he really elevated his game in the playoffs. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I truly believe that. The playoffs is a different kind of season, and you can really see who can bring their game up and stick to the plan. The difference is the pressure the players feel. Every action can make a difference one way or the other, and to understand what it takes to win and to go through the experience that we just had against Rockford, where it was difficult, but in a different way, coming from the series against Grand Rapids. So to understand the different style of games that need to be played in the playoffs and who took advantage of them, I think for us and for me personally, I think you will see the result of that next year at camp and next year early in the season, what they gain physically and especially the mental part of the game, and bring that into the next year. We knew what we had to do in order to beat Grand Rapids, and that was really difficult. But that's the one part you can only experience. And for us to go through those playoffs gave us a great evaluation on our players at a very different level.
You coach of the AHL Coach of the Year. I know maybe a little soon to be asking you to reflect on that personal compliment, but what does that mean for you?
It means, and it means that the organization has been doing a lot of good things. I truly, truly believe that this is an award that should go to the organization. I'm part of it. I'm really proud to be part of it. But at the same time, I'm just one piece of this organization. It means that we signed good players. It means that we drafted good players. It means that we hired a good staff. It means that the players bought into what we wanted to do. It means that players were performing. So it's an award that I really want to share with the whole organization, because it's one part that by myself we can't achieve that, and but the players, the coaching staff, the scouts, just different reasons. The connection with Paul Maurice and the Jets coaching staff, and having the opportunity, the privilege to be in touch with those guys, and we're like a big family, and we're in constant communication, and we know what they're talking about. We know their practice plan, their video plan, and we share information. We're just getting better every year, and that's. You take all of this, and it gives us a kind of season that we had, and and to be rewarded for it, to me, it's a prize, or it's a reward that goes to the full organization.
Just sorry, Pascal. Yes, well, it's sort of piggybacking off that, but my one and only question. This surreal scene today with all that's going on here, you can't help but notice that, and maybe it's hard to measure, but you guys have played a part in this with the Jets and all the media and whatnot down here. You have players that played for you that are now making meaningful contributions. So is that a part of all this that's really hard to measure, but you do take a lot of pride in to see what's going on?
Well, I was talking to Mr. Chipman yesterday after the second period, and the way I could explain it to him, how I felt myself personally, is after the game against Rockford, and you pour everything into your team and you're invested 100%, and you lose that game, and all of a sudden it's like you hit the wall. You lost. This is it. The season is over. I felt like I lost my best friend. That's how I felt. Like I was empty. And for me to go to the rink and be re-energized by what I've seen physically with the Jets, I've been part of that organization since day one. I've been through with those guys through the building blocks and the decisions that were made behind what we see as the result today, and what the kind of pressure we were put on, and the amount of work and communication that we had, and for them to be there today, absolutely. And this organization, what we do well, the one thing we do well is we're inclusive. I really feel like the Moose and the Jets are one big organization. We're separated. We go with our own business, but there's no walls between the two organizations. We're one big family. We're True North. It's the Jets and the Moose, and we're all in this together. And we're really proud of what they're doing. Extremely proud. It was and the one thing, and you're gonna hear it from the players and the coaches, and it's extremely genuine. To give back to the fans, that's a real motivation. It's real sincere. It's a real motivation that this team, this organization has, is to give back to the support that we've received over the years since the Jets are back. So there's a lot of good things going on, but for them to be here today is absolutely amazing for all of us.